Hello, everybody. Hello, you. And welcome to this conversation in Infinite Being School. You might be watching this on YouTube or Facebook or something else in the future, but I'm really glad you're here. And my name's Crystal. We're going to dive in today to a facet of a new conversation in access in and around business. So I obviously called this Business in the Big Five, What's Up? So if you haven't really yet tuned into any of my Crystal Crawford shows or anything around the Big Five, you might be a little lost. And I want to tell you that Access Consciousness, I'm a facilitator of Access Consciousness. Access Consciousness is something that continues to evolve and add and explore what we can unlock that will give us more choice. And the Big Five is the latest in the discoveries of what really locks us up and keeps us trapped. And so this week is this whole exposure and conversations around Heidi, around these different areas of our life and the Big Five. And I've already talked about money in the Big Five. We talked yesterday about your body and the Big Five. And thank you guys for jumping into those clearing loops because exciting. And today we're going to talk about business. And I want to talk about two different facets of business. One is generating blistering success, and the other is being willing to be seen, unhiding, all that other stuff that we typically do to kind of keep ourselves out of the world. And then kind of show you or talk about how the Big Five is actually what we're using to keep ourselves from choosing. Let me start with this little bit from the reference materials, which is this big tome of archived work over the 30 years that Access has been around. Listen to this. This is Gary. How many of you realize that you refuse fame, fortune, massive amounts of money, and infinite possibilities? Why? Because then your life might be too intense. As long as you refuse it, you don't have to have the intensity that would require you to have more awareness. What sum of money would require you to be intensely aware? Now, this is not included in the clearing loops, that little bit and that section in the reference materials. But when I was really looking at what is it that we struggle with the most in business, the thing that I realized we don't choose, that people get stuck around, is having blistering success, like being so successful that you've got too much money and never enough. And so there's two loops in the shop, and the one around blistering success starts with, let me give you a sample of this. How much are you using being a savior to prove that as the ultimate success that blisters your ass and you want out of, but you can never choose beyond? And all the Big Five creating that, will you destroy it and create it? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, puck, all nine, shorts, boys, povids, and beyonds. Only have a modicum of success so that nobody can be envious or jealous of you. And, as I was looking at this and really applying these 5 elements, because there is 5 elements that we use to just keep ourselves mediocre, run of the mill, status quo, zero-sum game. That's what I realize we're doing with business. It's like we create just enough to live or survive, but not so much that we outcreate ourselves, outstrip what we're capable of, make everybody around us jealous and envious with our blistering success. And being a blistering success, according to Gary, is like being so hot that you blister everybody's ass as you walk by. And I'm like, we're not even touching that. We're like, and there's this thing about being as good as others, but never as great as you. So it's like, how much of the Big Five are you using to be as good as others, but never as great as you are you choosing? And everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy it and create it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, puck, all nine, shorts, boys, povids, and beyonds. So that is one of the first areas where I really wanted to create more freedom for us around. What would it take to be willing to be so successful that you don't even recognize yourself? And the thing about success from a humanoid point of view is it's not, success for you is different than it is for me. And when you or I am not creating the success I say I want, and listen, I've really been looking at this and playing with this over the last as long as I've been a facilitator. And most of the time, my markers for success have been monetary. So I know I'm succeeding when my bank account's at a certain number, or when I have a certain number of people in my classes. And I'm still out creating that today, because what I use those for is to loop me back into the big five. So I've presumed that success for me are these things. And so when these things don't occur, then I react, which to prove my presumption correct. And then I look for the correct response. So, and looking for those markers is looking for the correct response out in the world. So if my bank account shows this number, or my class numbers are this number, then that's the correct response system to prove my presumption. And so I get myself trapped with that. Does anybody else do that? Anybody else have any like presumptions of what you think success is? Because most of what I see when I do, and I do a lot of business facilitation, I work with mostly entrepreneurs. Mostly what I see is that we use what's showing up in our business or not showing up in our business to judge ourselves. That is big five behavior. If we didn't, if we were using what's showing up in our business to be grateful, to ask for more, to be more, to choose more, to acknowledge ourselves more, we would have totally different businesses. That would be generating success from our point of view. Because what's light is true, and what's heavy and sticky isn't true. So how much of your time do you spend heavy and sticky around your business? And how much time do you spend light and excited about your business? And are you light and excited when it's new and the idea is new, and you know, there's nothing showing up yet, but the probabilities are there, the opportunity is there. And then once things show up, you're like, right? Because it didn't meet your expectations and it didn't, right? So that, I was really looking at like, how can I give us more choice with that? That is just one, that's a big five world right there. And it's the reason that business is actually one of the distractor implants. If you're new to Access and you don't know what that is, you can check out the book Living Beyond Distraction. There's 24 of these fuckers, and business and relationship are two of them, of the 24. I mean, there's so many. Life is a distractor implant. Reality is a distractor implant. So business is a distractor implant because that's how we use it. We use it to distract ourselves from the choices we really have, from the receiving of the miracles that we're creating all the time. And so that's the target of the first loop of generating blistering success, is to open up more space for you to really look at what is success for me, and am I succeeding and not acknowledging it, and what else can I choose, essentially. That's a really good loop. But I put another one in the shop around hiding and not wanting to be seen, because those are kind of the two things that come up the most. Essentially, people come into business classes and business facilitation wanting to make more money. I mean, that's why we get into business. We don't get into business just because we like it. We get into business because we want to make money. And for the most part, people are stuck around that their business isn't making enough money from their point of view. So this hiding and not willing to be seen goes hand in hand with being willing to be generous with yourself. And most of the time, the stuckness that I see is around people not knowing, thinking, coming in going, I don't know how to do this. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start is never actually true. When a humanoid chooses something, the creativity instantly shows up along with the choice. But until you choose it, you don't have access to that creativity. Same with money, actually. When you choose to have money, the creativity shows up to support it, right? You're just like, fuck it, I'm going to have money, whatever it takes. And so in that moment, everything rushes in to support your choice. It's the same with visibility. Fuck it, no matter what it takes, I'm going to broadband this brilliance to the world. Where can I start? And you will immediately get at least one idea, and most likely 10. So I was like, how do we unlock, what is this big five around visibility? And I want to read where I started with this. And I pretty much generated this loop myself. Some of these loops I really like allowed Gary to contribute with all the stuff that he's done over the years. Oh, I did do some of that here too. Okay. This loop is actually really interesting because this is going to unlock you in your whole life. All of these are. All of these are. No, our lives aren't actually segregated into areas. I put topics on things because it gives you some sort of reference point for going, yes, I'm struggling with that. Let me have this loop. But this one in particular really does run the gamut of like, what energies are you refusing to receive? You know, what secret agenda with being like everybody else are you choosing that keeps you from choosing to be like you? Um, what else do we, what are you like, how much are you living from the 0.01% of you rather than the 990% of you? This is so good. Like, why would you want to live your life with the regret of what you didn't do? This is a big loop. This is a big loop. And also like here's one, I'll give you this one. What big five secret agenda with never giving a fuck what anybody else thinks ever again do you have that maintains what you will not be, do, have, create, generate, change, choose, and institute in and as your life and your living? And everything that is times a godzillion will you destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, povids, ambience. Because we don't get visible, we don't express because we're afraid of what people think. And the thing that fear 100% of the time covers up is potency. It's always a cover up. Fear is never real. It's another distractor implant. So it always covers up potency. So we do this thing of we're afraid of what we're going to look like on camera or whatever getting visible is for us. We're afraid of speaking in front of people. We're afraid of pulling out our zero gravity chair and putting it at a fair somewhere. We say that we're afraid to keep ourselves from choosing to be as potent as we are. So this is so good. So what secret agenda with never giving a fuck what anybody else thinks ever again do you have? So we have this secret agenda with caring about what other people think that we don't even really let ourselves know we're functioning from, that we use to control us. So we're going to uncover it. And the thing about when you give a shit of what other people think, you have to ask yourself, like, what's the presumptive reality there? And giving a fuck what other people think is the fear that you're not going to receive the correct response to what it is that you do. And so you pre-react by withholding yourself from the world. And the thing about that is like, it's probably based on past experience or childhood or whatever, right? Like if from your point of view, it's justified based on the past. But as an infinite being with infinite choice and infinite possibilities, we don't actually have a past. The past doesn't actually exist. We keep it alive by our points of view and our secret agendas. So what big five secret agenda with never giving a fuck what anybody else thinks ever again do you have that maintains what you will not be? You will not do, you will not have, you will not create, and you will not generate, change, choose, or institute in and as your life and your living. And everything that is times a godzillion when you destroy it and create it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, povids, ambience. Gary's like, what if you didn't give a fuck what anybody else thinks ever again? And I think this is fun to look at. It's like, what would you change the way that you are being in the world if you didn't give a fuck? Would you be doing something different, creating different, being willing? Would there be more willingness in your world if you seriously gave zero fucks about what anybody thought? And so, when you come and you do coaching with me or facilitation with me, one of my first tools that I give everybody is do it wrong, do it badly, do it anyway. Just be willing to do it wrong, because from your point of view, you're always going to suck. And, I've been talking about how I'm in class with Shannon O'Hara this week, recertifying as a Talk to the Entities facilitator. And it's such a gift to be in classes with her, because she talks about this. She's like, from our point of view, we always suck. So if you know that, and you know that you're going to, like, I get off these conversations with you and I pretty much feel like always that I've said nothing. It's never true. And I will always have a friend that reaches out and go, oh my God. And what I will say is, well, thank you for the feedback, because I got off of there and felt like I said nothing. And they were like, oh my God, this and this and this. So we always suck from our point of view. So if you can get over or get beyond or clear space from the giving a fuck, then you can choose. And that's the point. This getting visible thing and unhiding is not as much of a process as a choice. So how do you get access to the choice for getting yourself out in the world? And the thing is, like, the way money is generated in this reality is through business. So for people to know you exist, something's required. Some sort of commerce, some sort of engagement. And I do a lot of my engagement like this. And this works for me. And when I want something else, like if, for example, doesn't it work as effectively for building live in person with bodies classes? This really works for online stuff. But so when I want something different with live and in person with bodies stuff, a different kind of exposure, connection, engagement is required for that. So that's how things grow. There's a way that things work here. And so when you resist all of that by judging and fear, then you don't get access to the blistering success available to you. So my target is to give you access to that if you wish. There's 2 new clearing loops in the shop, clearingwithcrystal.com. And then, of course, if you want to, you can just grab the bundle, because that's going to give you the 2 business ones, the body ones, the relationship one that we're going to talk about tomorrow, the money one. I recommend all of them. And if this business stuff has really been sticking you, then you can grab those today. So what would it take to be willing to be you, to be the 990% of you that will allow everything in your life to grow? And everything that doesn't allow it times a godzillion, and all the big 5 you're using to hold that out of existence, will you destroy it and create it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, povids, and beyonds. Here's to you. See you tomorrow.